Lighting looks good. Autofocus looks good. Did it again. Hey everyone, Josh from Practical Theism. What is truth? What is? How do we know something's true? Like, we make a lot of assertions in our daily lives. We deal with this all the time. And what is really interesting is we don't always ask whether or not what we're talking about is true. So how do we really get at truth? What is it? Like, how do we define it? And how do we know when we're actually identifying truth, we're in the presence of truth, or somebody's telling us something and it's true? Let's start by identifying what objective truth is versus subjective truth. Now, objective truth is when something is true regardless of how we feel about it. Subjective truth, on the other hand, is when something is true because of how we feel about it, also known as opinions. Now, objective example. So a police officer is putting you under arrest. Well, whether you like it or not, you're under arrest. There's an objective reality there. Or a baseball officiant, to use a sports analogy, stating that, hey, you're out. Well, guess what? Whether you like it or not, you're out, regardless of how you feel about it. I'm light-skinned with freckles. Gravity is real. I mean, ask anybody who jumps off a plane or a building. Whether they feel or think that gravity doesn't exist or that they can fly, they're in for a rude awakening. Now, subjective truths, on the other hand, tend to be more focused on personal preference. Coffee bean is better than Starbucks. I would say it's objectively true, but some people would disagree with me on that. So it's a subjective truth. It boils down to preference. Tacos are better than pasta. I am tall. I am very good looking. The question we have to ask with subjective truths is, what is this relative to? I am tall. Well, relative to what? It may be objectively true, but without the basis of measurement, we don't know if it's an objective truth. If I say I am tall and I'm comparing myself to Shaq, well, I'm probably not very tall. I mean, objectively, he's a heck of a lot taller. But if we say, hey, I'm tall compared to my 3-year-old, yeah, I'm pretty tall. Now, objective truths are also defined. We know a chair is objectively a chair because that was the name assigned to that object. So how do we really get at spiritual truths? One of the arguments I hear a lot from skeptics of religion is that because you cannot tangibly prove the intangible or scientifically measure that something that is intangible, it cannot be objectively true. However, this presents two major problems. Two, not four. Two. First, it presupposes a circular argument that in order for us to know an objective truth, it has to be provable by the scientific method. This is circular because if the only way we know truth is through the scientific method, well then, how can the scientific method prove itself? It can't. In fact, the scientific method presupposes or assumes that everything in the world is knowable or has the ability to be known. Now, where does that truth come from? Second, there are myriads of intangible truths that cannot be proved tangibly, but still require an explanation. Take love. Why do we love? Why do you choose to love someone over someone else? Where does that emotion come from? When a skeptic makes the very claim, I love you, to their spouse, they're actually putting forward a truth claim about an intangible truth, which shows that there are truths that are not tangible, yet they can be known. How do we come to know these truths? That is where philosophy, another discipline, comes into play. Now, philosophy really focuses on the metaphysical truths that science can't really get at. Through philosophy, which does not go against reason and logic, but most certainly uses it, we are able to arrive at truths about God and the spiritual side of creation. Can spiritual truths be objective? Yeah. I mean, we see this with things like self-awareness, emotions, feelings. We are, as humans, objectively self-aware. We have a consciousness. We objectively have emotions, even though they vary at any given moment. We objectively feel anger, sadness, love, etc. This line of questioning helps us further our discovery of the truth of our existence and draws us closer to an understanding of an oh so vital question: does God exist? Because if God exists, and that statement is objectively true, then all of creation is confirming that fact. and we can start down a path of truly understanding how creation was meant and designed to work together, as well as approach the biggest question anyone can ask themselves. Why do I exist? From all of us here at Practical Theism, we'll talk to you next time.